Hi, this is Mike, and welcome back to 5 Minutes of Fantasy Sports. So, week 11 in football is officially over now, and I was able to pull out a win. So, I'll look at my matchup, and then I want to do some research and kind of show you what to look at on waivers, see what kind of players I might need to add. So, my week was kind of a week full of some decisions here. Let me pull up my team instead of you staring at my mug if you're looking at the YouTube channel. So I had to decide Tannehill versus Kirk Cousins. I picked Tannehill to kind of diversify just in case Green Bay held them to only a few points. That was a mistake. I should have started Kirk Cousins. So I don't really need to be carrying two quarterbacks anymore. Kirk Cousins already had his bye, and he's hit and miss with his games. But looking at the schedule here, at San Francisco, at Detroit, Pittsburgh, at Chicago, Rams, Green Bay, Chicago. So he's going to be playing in the cold and snow, but hopefully he'll be fine. So probably what I'm going to do this week is I'm going to drop Ryan Tannehill. I thought he'd be better after Derrick Henry went out because they'd rely on him more. And he did throw for 323 yards, but he threw for 4 interceptions. And that's kind of killing him here. So just looking at him, 21, 14, 18, 12 points. He hasn't been super impressive. So I'm probably just going to ride Kirk Cousins for the rest of the year. And if I need to, I can pick someone off of waivers. Someone I'd recommend looking at is Tyrod Taylor. He's back, and he scored 2 rushing touchdowns. He's definitely going to use his legs because he's kind of running for his life in Houston. So if you do have a quarterback need, he's someone I'd consider. Jalen Hurts is probably taken. He had a good quarterback game. We'll look at stats in a minute anyway. But my big performer was Austin Eckler. He got me 4 touchdowns, 2 receiving, 2 rushing. And Mike Evans pulled out the win for me today, or on Monday, I should say. And he was able to get me a touchdown and, plenty of yards. So that was nice, 73 yards to be exact. My team was able to pull out the win. It was a close one. And really the only mistake I made was starting Tannehill over Cousins. I picked the right defense. So for next week, I've already decided I'm going to look to try to add someone off of waivers. I'm looking at a receiver. Right now I'm looking Jamison Crowder just because, you got to throw the ball to somebody in New York or for the Jets, and he's as good as option of anyone. So for next week, I'm looking like this at my team. Starting Kirk Cousins, Mike Evans at receiver. Antonio Brown is kind of iffy. I'm not sure if he's going to play or not. So what I would do if he's not going to play is I would switch Cordarrelle Patterson to receiver, and I would start one of my other running backs. So I have Damian Harris. I probably actually will just start another receiver because right now I'm kind of receiver heavy. I have Bourne, I have Brown, I have I guess I'd probably slide Damian Harris into the receiving, and then Cordarrelle Patterson will go back to receiver, but he was out last week as well, so I want to have kind of backups for my receivers, and that's why it'll be nice when I add someone like Crowder after this week. So taking a look at the players here, I'll just go over real quick how I like to do my research. The first thing I look at is just to see what everyone else is doing. So I actually go on the website to research, and then I click transaction trends, and it shows you who's getting added. So people are adding the Rams kicker. The Rams had a bye this last week, so people are picking up probably a kicker that got dropped. Ronald Jones the second, I'm not going to touch him. Let's see, Marcus Johnson, 3 for 52. That's not bad, but that's not anything special. So I think the big pickup probably for this week, Ingram's back if you need a tight end, but I have Kelsey, and Kelsey's out on his bye, so I already have a backup in place. That's Schultz, and he had a decent game actually because Cooper and then eventually CeeDee Lamb went out, so they might lean on him a little more next week. But Ty Johnson here is looking like he's going to start next week. So Michael Carter injured his ankle. He'll probably have a longer role if he misses time, but he's not really an every down back, it looks like. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm probably not Going to put a waiver claim on him. People are dropping to Ernest Johnson. So this is a good way to just get a feel for what people think who play fantasy football on Yahoo. This is all the leagues kind of put together. And you can see all the players there that are getting added. What I also like to do for myself is go to the player list and I'll take a look at just the week 11 stats. So I'll change it to like wide receiver, and then I'll go down to week 11 instead of the projected is what they actually did. And you can do like see who got the most targets. So Rondale Moore actually got 11 targets and he caught all of them, which is impressive. So he might be worth looking at. Josh Rosen had a good week actually as a quarterback. I think he's the one that started, right? And it's tough to recommend Josh Rosen as a starter, but you put up numbers, doesn't matter what your name is. But I would consider someone like Rondale Moore, I guess Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He just had the big reception for the touchdown, the long bomb, but he only got 4 of his 10 catches, but the big ones are nice. And Russell Gage in Atlanta, they got to throw the ball to someone in Atlanta as well. I mentioned how Crowder had 7 targets, 6 receptions, 44 yards, and a touchdown. So he's someone that, he's a solid receiver. He kind of flies under the radar, I think, in a lot of leagues. So he might be worth looking at. I recommended Robbie Anderson. He didn't really do much last week. 5 receptions for 30 yards. He's more of just a short little slot receiver. Marquise Goodwin, though, put up some good numbers, so he might be worth considering. Looks like he had a couple long catches here. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I'd recommend you do as well. Take a look at who you're going to add for week 11. You can do the same thing for running backs and tight ends. If you're low on running backs, you can look at attempts. Click on that one. It'll show you who got the most carries. Rex Burkhead got the most carries. Wow, Houston is a mess, man. Imagine being a Texans fan. It's been a long road the last year or two. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But that's all for fantasy sports. Look at your team, figure out what you need to add in for week 12, if anyone, and put in those waiver claims or the fab bids and try to figure out how you can get the players you need. That's it for me.